Hello, everyone. It is now 4 p.m. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Franco, and I'll be facilitating today's session on Ryerson Engineering. This is one of a series of sessions taking place this week, September 21st to the 25th, as part of our fall virtual open house. Now, we encourage you to visit our website and register for any other sessions that you might be interested in. Now, to start, Ryerson has shifted to an essential services model to help prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. We have put together a series of virtual sessions in order to share information and connect with you. Ryerson is working diligently to provide students with fulsome learning experiences while still maintaining the health and safety of our community. Now, just in case this is the first time you're using the Zoom platform, I'd like to start with a couple of tips and tricks. Now, we encourage you to ask questions throughout this session. We have our team in the back end here to answer your questions. Now, to do so, please utilize the Q&A function, which you will find at the bottom of your Zoom window. Click on that, and that should open up a new window, and that is where you can enter in your questions. Now, if you're having some audio issues or video issues, maybe you can't see me or you can't hear me, please feel free to flag that also in our Q&A pod, and one of our staff members will be able to help you troubleshoot. Now, you may also rearrange the screen however you see fit. You can make the presentation screen bigger. You can also make the speaker screen bigger as well. However you change your screen will not affect the viewing experience of others in this presentation as well. Now, to ensure accessibility, we have enabled closed captioning as well. And also note that recordings of all of our sessions this week will be available on our website later in October. Now, to get us started, we'd like to know who is with us in the room today. If you can actually just answer this poll for us, we'd like to get to know you a little bit better. So I'm seeing a lot of students who are looking to apply for next fall of 2021. It's always great to get your research started. We'll give it another, we'll say about 5 seconds or so. Cool, yeah, so a vast majority of you are currently in grade 12. I hope the start of the school year has gone well for you. But it's also really great that you're here with us today because it's never too early to get your research started. So to begin, I'd like to start with the land acknowledgement. Even though we're not physically currently located on Ryerson's campus, it is important to acknowledge the land our campus stands on today. The land acknowledgement has become an important acknowledgement of the Indigenous presence and assertion of sovereignty. It is stated at the openings of all of our events, meetings, and ceremonies. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations, peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Now, Ryerson is committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion, and will continue to work and move forward on the path toward reconciliation. So let's get started on the session. I'd like to introduce you to the star of the show, I would like to say. This is Jeff Capel from Ryerson Engineering. Over to you, Jeff.
Awesome, thank you so much. Welcome everyone to this presentation on Ryerson Engineering. My name is Jeff Capel. I am a recruitment liaison admissions officer for the faculty. So what's kind of cool about this is that half my job I get to go online, talk to students, get them excited about applying and giving you information about Ryerson Engineering. And then the other half of my job is I'm responsible for admitting students. So we decide kind of what you need, what averages there are, and we go through your applications, trying to get as many students into the programs as we can. So what's really great about that is that I get to see you now, and then you'll start the conversation and keep the conversation going all the way up until, again, September of 2021. So excited that I can be doing this presentation for you. We have a lot to cover today. One big thing that I wanna let you know about, and I think we're dropping it into the chat as I speak, is our ryerson.ca/askeng website. This is a great resource for you. We are working hard to develop it even more, but this is where you can find our engineering admissions handbook for 2021. So it's actually at the bottom right-hand corner in a little box there. If you wanted to go ahead, check out that website, grab the book. You can follow along the presentation with that book if you wanted to. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a ton of information as well. I know Franco said, ask your questions throughout the presentation, but I'm actually going to go opposite of that and actually ask that you hold off on your questions. If something really urgent comes up, go ahead. I have background staff, there's other admission officers, there's other people from our national recruitment team helping me out, but we are going to go through a ton of presentations. I've been with engineering for about 8 years now, so I can sometimes predict what you're going to ask, but throughout this presentation, I will go through the engineering programs. We're going to go through the admissions process, what averages you might need. We'll talk about scholarships, go through things about how we're going to make you a successful student, and also how we're going to make you a successful graduate. So tons of information. So if you just hold off on those questions, we will stick around until 5 or even past 5. I mean, I'm already home, so it's not like I have to rush home. So we'll definitely be there to help you out and get all those questions. But you can always pop back to askeng at ryerson.ca. That's our email. ryerson.ca/askeng is our website. So we're 100% available to you. So when we get through, we just want to let you know that we want to challenge you to be greater than. So we want you to come, we want you to get that engineering experience, but we want you to think about how you're going to be greater than and how you're going to get those experiences. But before I jump into what programs we offer and all the great things that you can do as an engineering student, I like to reflect and bring everyone back to the basics. When I'm in a classroom, it's a little bit more interactive, so this is first time for me, but I want to get into your brain and I want you to start thinking, but think about what is engineering. A lot of the times when I'm doing this presentation, I get answers like, oh, it's buildings, it's bridges, it's making a car. And so there's different types of engineering out there. And you're spending your day after school, or you've logged on to see me present, and this is a career you're going to choose, but what is it that you're actually choosing? And the way that we define engineering right to the basics is engineering is problem solving. So problems are an engineer's inspiration. So the one kind of step further to that is that you're actually using math and science to solve real world problems. So using those applications to really get in there and make sure you might be solving a new problem, you might be solving a problem that's already been solved. So for example, many of you probably know the Gardner Expressway. It is a solution to a problem, but now it is literally falling apart. So some of our engineers are actually looking to see how they can solve the problem of it falling apart to make it more sustainable, to make it last for much longer than what we're anticipating right now. But the biggest thing too is to think that engineers do so much more than just build. They invent, they design, they maintain. You're even looking to improve. You're looking at structures, machines, devices, systems, materials. So there's so much that an engineer can do. Even just standing on a street corner, you're looking at a building, you're looking at a road, you're looking at cars on the road. So an engineer has had some say in everything that happens around the world. So just keep that in mind, that it's a very diverse area that you can go into. Another thing that I like to challenge grade 12 students to do is think about how you're going to make yourself a more successful engineer. So yes, anyone can go in and do calculus. Okay, I might not be able to, but for the most part, you can learn calculus, you can learn physics, you can get those engineering degrees. But what's going to make you successful as an engineer? And so I want you to think about different skills that you can develop as we go through this year, whether you're in grade 12, grade 11, even if you're a counselor listening. I think I saw a counselor and a parent there, but different skills that you can kind of hone in on, that you can practice while you're in grade 12, that's going to make you more successful in university, and it's going to make you more successful when you're an engineer. These are just a few of the soft skills that we've come up with, but learning how to communicate, one of my favorite skills to mention and to get people to think about, and that's communication, articulating your thoughts, telling people what you want. I've been lucky enough for the last 15 years of my career, I've become a paid communicator. So I literally go online, go into classrooms and speak to people. But it's as little as going into an interview and being able to answer those questions clearly. right? Or if you're looking for that promotion, if you're trying to do that sales pitch, you have to be able to communicate what you're thinking. Teamwork is another huge thing within engineering. So you're going to be working with multiple different people in multiple different areas. You're going to like some people, you might not love some people, and it's learning how to work with a lot of different people in a lot of different ways to be successful. So just keep that in mind. Things like leadership, problem solving, creativity, attention to detail, all things that you could start to work on now that'll make you more successful in the future. So just think about that. Keep little things like that in mind, because we want you to be the engineer that you want to be. Okay? You are in control. You're going to be able to do what you want to do and specialize in an area that you're interested in. At Ryerson, we actually have 8 different degree programs and 9 different entry points. So where you can apply, and you'll see all these as applications on the OUAC. So you're not just applying to Ryerson Engineering and then figuring it out from there. You're actually going to be applying for aerospace engineering, electrical engineering, or an entry option that I'll go through is undeclared engineering. So you can apply to 1, you can apply to up to 3. I think there's probably a lot of grade 12 students from Ontario with us right now. Once you get those PIN numbers from your school, usually in October or November, you can then go onto the application center, the OUAC, and make your applications. You can apply to up to 3 programs at 1 institution. And I'll tell you why that might be a little bit strategic later on in the presentation. What I do want to do right now is just go through and talk about each different program that we do offer so that you get a little bit of a glimpse as to what we offer our students and what you might be interested in applying to. I'll try to give an interesting tidbit as well of what some of our students are doing or an opportunity that you can take advantage of. So we'll start off with aerospace engineering, which is a fairly unique program to Ryerson. You're only going to find the standalone Bachelor's of Engineering in Aerospace Engineering at very few universities within Ontario. And this, the best way to explain it is that it's anything that flies. Okay, so if you're interested in that flight aspect, aerospace engineering is a great option for you. In your upper years, you can actually focus in on one of the 3 options that you see on your screen. One is aircraft design. So that's things like airplanes, helicopters, drones have become a big part of our curriculum as well. Also, if you go down to, I think it's page 20 in the PDF, you'll hear a story about one of our student teams and how they've dealt with COVID-19 and how they're using drones to help people access or to help bigger cities access different communities that might not have the same access that's available. So they're really taking great steps into really helping the community, helping society. So great option there. Spacecraft design is anything that goes into space. So you could be looking at spaceships, you could be looking at satellites. How do we get things into space? How do they stay in space? How do they come back from space? I'm watching, I think it's called Away right now on Netflix, so very relevant to this right now, trying to land on Mars. And then the last thing is avionics. So this is the control systems. So you're looking at things like autopilot, landing gear, all those important aspects to talk about and to learn about how the human can actually interact with the machine. One unique feature to our program within aerospace is RIADI. And RIADI is the Ryerson Institute for Aerospace Design and Innovation. So what this is it actually allows you the opportunity to do summer internships as you're going through your degree. So after first year, you can start applying within this program, and it gives you the opportunity to work with industry partners. So people like Bombardier, people like Pratt & Whitney, instead of working in the summer for Burger King or McDonald's. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but it does give you that experience right after your first year. So a lot of students can take advantage of that. I think anywhere between 60 to about 80 students each summer will participate in the RIADI program. One of my favorite engineering programs, because I actually come from a disability studies background, is biomedical engineering. And so this is where healthcare and engineering kind of mush together. It's the intersection of the two. So biomedical engineers are looking to make people or see how they can help people live longer, better lives. So they're looking at things like medical imaging, creating artificial organs, prosthetics, so brain-controlled prosthetic limbs, which is pretty cool. In your 4th year of every engineering program at Ryerson, you will complete what we call a capstone design project. And this is where you work with a team, and it's one of your courses where you solve a problem. or improve a solution. So one of my favorite, and I think I saw this probably about 5 years ago in our capstone design showcase, where these students actually created a skull drill. So what it is it's a drill that goes through the skull, but it's actually there to assist, let's say, neurosurgeons when they're going for brain surgery. And what happens is the drill can actually go through the skull, and once it hits brain matter, or not hits it, once it gets a certain distance away from the brain matter, it's trained to stop. So this allows people, and this allows surgeons to be less intrusive. So they're going to be just putting, let's say, a pinhole in someone's skull, as opposed to back in the day, or what I picture like a huge saw going, right? They're improving how people recover. They can recover quicker, how less intrusive a surgery might be. So very cool opportunity. These students would be in 4th year, and they've developed this project. So a great opportunity there, and something that students will be able to talk about in interviews that might go on. Chemical engineering is a very broad and diverse area within engineering. This is converting raw materials into more useful forms. So you could be looking at things like food processing, you could be looking at wastewater treatment plants, you could be looking at plastics and polymers. So a lot of different areas to investigate. You'll actually notice, or hopefully notice, that chemical engineering is actually the only program within our engineering faculty that has a mandatory co-op attached to the program. So with this mandatory co-op, you have to complete the co-op term to get the degree, and you would do 4-month placements throughout your degree. So this gives you the opportunity to get multiple different employment opportunities working with industry partners, and so you must complete those to get the degree. All of our other programs do have a co-op option, and I'll talk about that once I get through all the programs, but just know that this one is a mandatory co-op to complete the degree. Now, one of the more traditional engineering programs that you'll see is civil engineering. So back to when I said, what is engineering? And normally I get it's buildings, it's bridges. That's more of a civil engineer. So the best way I describe civil engineering is that it is anything that does not move. Okay, so yes, you're looking at buildings, you're looking at bridges, you're looking at highways, but you do not want those to crumble, okay? The only time you might want it to move is if it's a drawbridge, then that is when you want your bridge to move. But within this program, you do have 3 different areas that you can focus in on in your upper years. So whether it's going into structural, you could be looking at environmental, or even transportation. So great opportunities there. One of the more up and coming programs, if it's not already here, I mean, I'm talking to you guys through Zoom, but it's computer engineering. And the way that I describe this is that it's using ones and zeros to change the world. So the way that we do things, computer engineers are looking at embedded systems, they're looking at digital systems. One important thing to note about Ryerson Engineering is that it is software engineering and hardware kind of mushed together. So software and hardware finding the marriage between the two. So it's a computer engineering degree where if you want to focus in on software engineering, you can specialize your courses in your upper years to focus on that. But it is kind of the marriage between the two so that you have a well-rounded understanding of computer engineering. Very similar to computer engineering is electrical engineering. And this is where you're looking at magnetism, electricity, the transfer of power. So you could be looking at energy systems, microsystems, multimedia systems. One thing when I go into high schools back when we were still allowed to, I would actually have my iPhone controlling an iPad, which would have speaker's notes on it, but then it would project just the presentation on the screen. So electrical engineers are trying to help people communicate better. Going back to that soft skills, sorry. One big thing within this area is robotics. So anyone looking for robotics, that kind of mechanical side of electrical engineering, you'd go into electrical engineering to get that robotics experience. My second favorite program, engineering program at Ryerson, is actually industrial engineering. And industrial engineering is kind of that business management side of engineering. So you're looking at efficiencies, how to make things more efficient, more effective. When I say industrial engineering, a lot of people do think, oh, it must be like assembly lines. And yes, absolutely, that's one aspect of industrial engineering, it might be looking at an assembly line and making it more efficient, more effective. But you could be looking at process improvement. So things like importing and exporting goods. Things like even the self-checkouts that we see at our Loblaws. I'm right downtown at the Maple Leaf Gardens Loblaws. With that, I remember when there used to be 3 lanes and with humans at the end, and now they've created 16 lanes of self-checkout. So those 3 humans are still supervising and watching the 16 self-checkouts, but it's a little bit more efficient. I know that I can stop in there if I want to quickly get a bag of chips, and I will be in and out. Okay, and that might have been happening a little bit more during COVID-19, but still ways on how a business can make more money, how they can get more customers in and out of their businesses. So looking at that efficiency. Similar to industrial engineering, we have mechanical engineering. And the way that I describe this is mechanical engineering is pretty much everything that does move. So civil engineering does not move, mechanical engineering does. Okay, so you're looking at engines, you're looking at machines, you're looking at heating and cooling systems. So a lot of different areas there. Thermodynamics, manufacturing. One big thing that a lot of students are interested in is mechatronics. So mechatronics would be that electrical side of mechanical engineering. So one example of that would be, let's say, the accessible doors, where you push the accessible door button and the door opens. That would be an example of mechatronics, let's say. Now, the last thing that you're going to see on the OUAC application will be undeclared engineering. So now the thing with this is that undeclared engineering is not a degree program. So I hope I didn't burst anyone's bubble. I hope no one's trying to become an undeclared engineer, because basically it's an I don't know engineering degree. But undeclared engineering is an entry option which allows you to kind of sample the engineering program, okay? Within this, because all of our programs share a common first semester, you can come in, take the first semester, learn a little bit more about the engineering programs that we offer, and then you can declare your major by December 1st. Now, in the history of history, anyone who has been in good academic standing has been able to change their program and get their first choice. It's not guaranteed, but in the history of history, anyone who has wanted to change from undeclared to specific engineering has been able to do so. Now, the reason for that is because we do have the common curriculum. So with engineering, whether you're civil, mechanical, or undeclared, you're going to be taking Calc 1. You're going to be taking linear algebra. The one key course is the Intro to Engineering course, where we're going to educate you on every program that we offer. So it's not going to be just Jeff being like, it's anything that flies, it's things that don't move. It's going to be more in-depth. You're going to have a lecture on specific programs so that you're making a little bit more of an educated decision. The good thing with how our program is structured is that if you come in as, let's say, an aerospace engineer or a biomedical engineer, because it's my favorite, if you're then like, oh, I don't know what Jeff was talking about, you could also apply to switch. It would have to happen, or the best time to do that is after that first semester or just before the end of it. So that second semester, you can register for all your courses. So you can see that there's still some common courses there. So everyone takes Calculus 2, everyone will take Physics, Waves, and Fields. But then there are additional courses that you will take depending on the program that you're in. So biomedical engineering students will take a Intro to Biomedical Engineering course. So civil students wouldn't want to take that. So it's important to kind of have that major chosen by that December 1st or just after that. So just keep in mind that's how the curriculum's laid out to try to benefit you. That also comes to advantage if you apply to multiple programs and potentially you don't get into your first choice. You can come in under your second choice program and then apply to switch after that. So a great opportunity there to kind of increase your chances. Another thing to keep in mind with Ryerson Engineering is that we are what you call a grades only program. So we do not have a portfolio, we do not have a video, we do not ask you to do jumping jacks, none of that stuff. We are going to be looking at your grades. So for Ontario students, we are looking for you to complete the Ontario Secondary School Diploma with a minimum average of 80% or higher in your best. So your top 6 grade 12 URM courses with a minimum of 70% or higher in the 5 prerequisite subjects. So those 5 are English, advanced functions, calculus and vectors, physics, and chemistry. Now, keep in mind that only meeting the minimum does not guarantee admission. So I want to challenge you to get the highest possible grades, higher than 70 in those prerequisites, higher than 80 in that overall average. Typically our averages we do find that they range in the mid to high 80s depending on the year, and programs can have different averages. So for example, undeclared could be an 88 and civil could be an 86. And if you have an 87, you would get into, I forget what I just said, but undeclared, or civil, let's say, but you'd maybe be waitlisted for undeclared. So if you apply to more than one program, that does kind of increase your chances to being admitted. You could also be admitted to both programs, so just keep that in mind. But we are a grades-only program, so we want you to really focus on those courses, really get that average as high as you possibly can. It's also great because that will impact entrance scholarships potentially. So the higher the average, the more likely or more eligible you'd be for a potential scholarship. There are engineering specific scholarships that I just want to let you know about. If you go to the very last page of the book, or the second last page, if you're looking at the PDF, you should be able to see a list of different engineering specific scholarships. Now these ones, there are applications that are required. Usually within the admissions office, we email all of our students just to remind you, hey, apply. And you usually are just filling out one sheet for multiple different scholarships. Sometimes there's two, but it's anywhere between $2,000 to $10,000. So not bad for something you might spend maybe half an hour on, but just know that these opportunities are there. You can apply for a scholarship even before you've been admitted to the program. So just keep in mind that those are available, and you can in many cases stack different scholarships to help you out. So just keep in mind that that does exist, but this is where you do have to apply for them. Now, why Ryerson Engineering? The biggest thing that I want to point out is that we are CEAB accredited. All of our programs are accredited by the Canadian Engineering Accreditation Board. So that's something you want to look at when you're doing your research, just if you wanted to go to that next level of becoming a professional engineer. And I also have a video that I'm going to share just to kind of give you a break from me, but I will be back very shortly.
My name is Tara. I'm in my 4th year of aerospace engineering, and I chose Ryerson because the second I walked onto campus, I knew this is where I belonged. From the amazing community to the fostering and supportive environment, Ryerson was a great choice for me because I knew that this is where I could be the most successful.
Hello, my name is Iris, and I'm in my 3rd year of mechanical engineering. The reason why I chose Ryerson Engineering was because I wanted to get lots of theoretical knowledge, but also have the opportunities to practice what I learned and actually apply my knowledge. So, lots of our classes have mandatory lab components, and that's a great way for you to apply what you've learned in lecture to real-world applications and scenarios. I also really was intrigued by the amount of design teams that we have, because you actually get to design things from scratch and actually practice real-world engineering.
Awesome. So we just got some snippets from some students as to why they chose Ryerson. Really that experience and that hands-on practical experience is what they were looking for. It's also part of our be-all-in approach. So we have that be-all-in approach to education where we want you to come, we want you to get your degree, we want you to be successful in your studies, but we also want you to develop outside of the classroom. So whether it's professionally, whether it's personally, there's a lot of opportunities to make that transition successful, to be a successful engineer. One of the biggest things that people ask about is co-op. So being career ready, we have you set. So I mentioned already about chemical engineering, how it does have a mandatory co-op where you're doing 4-month placements throughout the degree. With all of our other programs, do we have co-op? Yes. However, they're optional. So with these options, they actually happen after your 3rd year of study, where you'll actually go and complete anywhere between 8 to 16 months of the co-op term. So in your 3rd year, if you're interested, right at the beginning, you talk to your department to start to get you ready for the job boards and interview skills and resume writing, where then you'll apply for those jobs. And if you do get a placement, after your 3rd year of study, you'll go and work for 8 to 16 months, fully paid. you don't worry about Ryerson at all, or you worry about Ryerson, but you don't worry about being a student at all. And then you come back for what would be your 4th year. So what happens is your 4-year degree then turns into 5 years because you have 1 year of work experience under your belt. So if you go to actually each program page on that PDF in that handbook, you'll actually see different employers that we do have partnerships with. And so your departments will definitely help you to get connected with those industry partners. Another big thing that we like to talk about is our student supports. One of the biggest things is our first-year engineering office. So this is a team of individuals who are there for the first-year students. So they register you for all of your first-year classes. They have mini courses throughout the summer to just refresh your skills. You can see on your screen here, we also have first-year ambassadors, where you can actually go online now and talk to different students. So whether it be a program that you're interested in or someone in a certain year of the program, you can connect with them now by going to our first-year engineering website. Within there also, we have 2 academic advisors who are there to assist you and are specialized in the first-year curriculum. There's 2 personal counselors if you need them, and different career advising and a learning center as well to ensure that the transition from high school to university is successful. So this unit is there, they are ready for you, they are working away right now for the first year students who are currently enrolled. So it's nice to know that that support exists. We also want you to get involved in your studies. So we want you to, yes, go to class. Yes, learn everything that you can, but how can you have fun outside the classroom to apply that knowledge? So with every program, there's a club or a team that you can get involved in. A lot of the times we'll actually see students who aren't in a specific program go and join that team. So for example, our formula racers, so building a race car from scratch, we have students from electrical engineering, we have students from computer engineering, we have students from business on that team. So a lot of interdisciplinary work, but a great way to get to know people outside of the classroom and kind of a way to show your Ryerson pride. So with that, I'm gonna show you another video.
Ryerson! 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 Ryerson!
Awesome. So just to show you kind of what students do, it's also a great way to meet other people. And when we're allowed to, a lot of these teams will actually travel and be able to compete against other universities, whether it be in Ontario, in Canada, North America, across the globe. So some great opportunities there to kind of build that resume to really add value to your degree. So with that being said, that wraps up pretty much what I want to cover for today. Just wanted to give you a glimpse as to what Ryerson's all about, give you the information about the different programs you can apply to, admission requirements. If you need us at any point from now up until the end of the admission cycle or even next summer, you can contact us very easily. So I already talked to you about ryerson.ca/askeng. You'll want to tune in there. We're still updating it, so we're hoping to have something live, I'm thinking by next week, where we're gonna have different webinars throughout the fall, where we'll have different points of contact where you can kind of get a student experience. We're going to have resources up there. We'll even have ways to book one-on-one appointments with admission officers throughout the cycle. So ryerson.ca/askeng is a great way to stay connected. If you have any questions at all, any questions, I promise you can send them to us about Ryerson Engineering. Our email is askeng@ryerson.ca. So that's on our on the slide there as well. And what's great about that is it goes directly to the admissions team. So myself, there's Heather, Dwayne, and Sherry. We're the 4 people in the engineering admissions department, and we will be answering your questions. So if you have any questions about your application or you're not sure about something, just shoot us an email for sure. With that being said, I can kind of see in the background that some questions are coming in. So we do have people, and I'll be jumping on the chat as well to answer some questions for you. But if you do have any questions, shoot them in there, shoot us an email, and hopefully we can get everything answered. And I wish you all the best with what I'm sure is going to be an interesting fall for us. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. And I think Franco's maybe coming back.
Yep, I'm here. Thanks, Jeff, so much. Thank you for this great session on our engineering programs. Now we're going to be shutting down our audio and video, so you can't see or hear us, but we're still going to be online up to the top of the hour, to the end of this hour, to answer any questions that you may have. So please feel free to submit your questions through the Q&A pod until the end of the hour. So another reminder that recordings of all of our virtual open house sessions this week will be made available later in October on our website. However, this won't include the Q&A. So if you did receive an answer to one of your questions, I encourage you and suggest that you do take a note of those answers and you make a note of that before this webinar ends. Now we're going to be hosting another virtual open house, so part 2 of this on the weeks of November 19th and also November 16th, which will feature program-specific information sessions for each of our undergraduate programs. And so we hope to see you there. Now, on behalf of Ryerson, Jeff, and everyone here on the back end, thank you once again for joining us today, and I hope to see you in other sessions this week. Bye now.